Hello and welcome to Eyes Interviews, where we meet with various entrepreneurs and companies here in Southern California. I am Gina Monteleone and I am located in one of the 3 global offices here in Los Angeles. Today, we meet with a company that offers a digital platform for trading sports cards called Dibbs. Hi, we're here today with Evan Vandenberg, the CEO of Dibbs. So welcome, Evan.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, it's our pleasure. Could you introduce yourself to us?
Yeah, my name is Evan Vandenberg. As you mentioned, the founder and CEO of Dibbs. I live here in Los Angeles. Actually, my office is right next to Eyes. And quick rundown. I was actually born in Hong Kong, spent my childhood there. Bounced around the US, went to high school in Northern California, and then actually attended Cal Poly with Gina. So we actually went to college together, where we met. And then after college, went to Intel and spent a few years there in engineering and commercial roles. Left Intel to start my first company, making mobile apps in the kind of heyday of social, and tried to find some niches in there, and ultimately turned that into consulting business. And then was a product manager at Upsite, which was a mobile attribution and mobile analytics platform for large games, mobile games primarily. Then left, went to the blockchain space and the digital item trading space. So went and worked at a company called Opskins, which was the world's largest peer-to-peer marketplace for digital items, so in-game items, primarily PC games, so Steam game skins, and having a cash marketplace for those in the secondary market, which will make more sense when we get into Dibbs. But transitioned from that into launching the Wax blockchain, a bunch of NFT projects, and then started Dibbs.
Awesome. If you were to explain Dibbs to your 8-year-old niece or nephew, how would you explain it?
I think it would be the most fun and easy way to trade cards with anyone around the globe instantly.
Okay. Through their mobile?
So through their mobile phone, sorry, that would have been a really good addition. So yes, to trade cards from the comfort of your mobile phone. So even an 8-year-old, right? I mean, and we do have an 18+ policy on the platform, but regardless, right? I mean, for myself, huge Pokemon card collector, sports card collector growing up. Back then it was, you had a binder, right? And you huck in your backpack and walk down to your friend's house and you would showcase your cards and trade and do whatever. We kind of bring all of that into your phone. And we also have the fractional element, which, for an 8-year-old may be less interesting, but it's a way to get a piece of cards that, are way outside of an 8-year-old's price range, for as little as $1, and be able to kind of trade and showcase that in a, mobile but global fashion as well.
So you would, if you had $1 to spend, you would pay $1 into a card that might cost, $3,000.
Sure, yeah. I mean, we can even use a more relevant example, Logan Paul, I believe one of the Paul brothers, but he has the necklace, right? It's this $200,000 Charizard, perfect mid-10 card. So most people aren't going to spend $200,000 on a singular Charizard card. That's usually out of people's budget. But what we can do with our technology, with blockchain and fractional, is we can take a $200,000 card and we can sell infinitely small pieces of it, or I guess infinite's the wrong word, but $1 of that card. And so you can actually own $1 stake of that card, which I won't do the percentage on that, but it's very small. But you can actually own that, and you can start to build a collection of fractional parts of cards that you want that maybe you couldn't afford on your own. And you can buy and sell those, trade them, and showcase them from your phone.
So for the cards, like say a baseball card, is it a physical card that you have somewhere, in a safe, and then
totally good question. No, sorry to interrupt you. I was just no, it's it's the basis.
Buy into that one single physical card?
Yeah, so it's a great question. So what does Dibbs actually do, right? Is it the digital representation as an NFT? So no, we actually, all the cards on Dibbs are physical cards. They've been graded, authenticated, and now they're vaulted and insured for life at a third-party vault.
Okay.
So these physical cards exist in this vault. We have digital scans of them. We have all the information needed to receive the physical item. We put that into an NFT, and we fractionalize that NFT, and that's what's traded on Dibbs. But if you accumulate enough of the token, you can either buy out the entire NFT, or you can simply acquire 100% of the card and take it. So what you have what that allows, right, and to put this in the most simplistic terms, is basically all the cards on Dibbs you can actually physically get. They can also be moved into different crypto marketplaces. So, OpenSea or some of these others, you can actually take our items and you can move them off our platform to other platforms and sell them there. We're okay with that. We're much more of the open world concept, and like we would love to see people build businesses on top of Dibbs, where hey, maybe you have a really cool trading idea or a community that you want to build that integrates with the platform, and so we want that to happen. But yeah, all the cards are physically vaulted, and they're all available to be returned to the owner, and that's really what that NFT does, right? And it goes back to the explanation of the title transfer, right? It's this really efficient way to pass ownership from one person to another, in exchange typically for value of either cash, cryptocurrency, or potentially cards, swapping them.
Another question I have is, how does Dibbs create the value of a card? Like, how do you understand how much the card is worth?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So how does Dibbs determine the value of a card? Generally speaking, we provide the users with a lot of data. The other thing is we largely consign our items. So the consigners typically would ultimately choose, but we provide a lot of data, right? We're able to pull most known sources of sales history.
Mm-hmm.
So typically we'll look at the last 30, 60, 90 days of sales for a particular card if it's available. And we try to just sell as close to market or below market if possible. It's again largely up to the consigners, but we try to leverage as much data externally.
Okay. Awesome. Which leads me into, okay, so this is all technically NFTs. So what is an NFT?
Yeah, so it's funny. NFT is like the big buzzword, right? I mean, I think at the most simple terms, it's without getting into the decentralization of blockchain, but for me it's like the easiest way to transfer ownership of a unique item, over the internet. And so NFTs are really, honestly, very, very interesting and complex if you get into the core of them. Realistically, an NFT is like a mini computer. Like, people don't always think about them that way, but they actually can. They have computational power. They can actually write code into these things. So you have like this mini computer that you can transfer to people. But that's like taking it a step further than what most people are doing today. Like, at the core, it really is this digital transfer of title, right? In a very seamless, secure, and decentralized fashion.
Okay, awesome. So how did you get into starting Dibbs?
No, it'll probably make a little bit more sense. So when I was working at OpSkins, which is the game, so game skins and a cash marketplace for that. When we moved to launching the Wax blockchain, one of the big partners that we brought in to do the first kind of big digital collectible push on the platform was Topps. So Topps, the American baseball, what they're known for is trading cards, right? As baseball cards. They were kind of the originators and the kind of legacy company of collectibles within the United States. So we got them signed up to do their first NFT projects. And so through that process, I got back into collecting, like going back to my cards, like being around that culture and seeing the whole kind of like enthusiasm around it, like got me excited. So I went back to my parents' house, got my cards, started trading these cards online. I was like, nothing's changed. Nothing's changed in 10 years. Like, realistically, the vast majority of like the innovation was like eBay, and then just a derivative of eBay that was simply slightly better for this form factor. And I just felt like living in this world where these things had so much more functionality, uses. Like, I felt like much more fun and communal online. But there was a huge kind of digital innovation that we could bring to the table, leveraging NFTs and blockchain, but really just making this a more approachable and fun space for a lot more people.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Interesting. So I guess what is your, taking a step back, what is Dibbs' mission?
It's totally a fair question. And I think for us, it's bringing in like the next generation of fandom, right? I think there's fandom just spawned so far like beyond sports. There's movies and Pokemon and music and all these like incredible things. I think the collectible industry has been really inaccessible, and I think our mission is to make it more accessible, more fun, and more readily available for people around the world.
Mm-hmm. And I guess easier to carry around on your mobile device.
Right.
rather than a binder.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like that's one of the fallacies I think when people think about collecting is that everyone's obsessed with like holding the physical item. And there are people, right? Like, I'm not negating the fact that that does exist, but I think people are increasingly more okay with owning something digitally, right? I think we do this all the time now. Online shopping is the norm now. With blockchain and NFTs and a lot of this stuff, people are getting over that hurdle of needing to hold something physically and put it on a shelf and showcase it to somebody, at your home, because in the last year, right, not a lot of home visits. And being able to showcase something digitally, like, is so much more powerful in terms of like the amount of people you can reach, the amount of people you can interact with and talk to about the things that you care about. And so I think kind of that, you're just seeing this kind of collision of a lot of different interesting factors that make this, possible now. So I guess that's my 2 cents.
Okay, interesting. So I guess on top of missions, what is Dibbs hoping to accomplish in this next year?
Yeah, I think for the rest of this year, right? So just for context for viewers, is we launched the beta in March. We came out of beta maybe 4 weeks ago. So it was an iOS only beta for the US only. So, we started with 3 kind of tiers of sports cards, or 3 leagues of sports cards. So it was just, American football, baseball, and basketball cards. That was strictly what we launched with. Went exceedingly well. We ended up with a wait list of 50,000 or more. What was interesting about that is more than half of those were global. So outside the US is what I mean by that. And so I think for us, this year is obviously building the best technology in the space and try to really, really, put ourselves in a good position on that front. But then it's a vertical expansion and then a global expansion play for us. So I think by the end of this year, I would be disappointed if we're not in a few other countries. And I think, our plans are to expand into Europe and Asia quite heavily over the next 12 months, we'll call it. 6 months is probably a little bit short term. But adding new things, like there's just so much fandom. Like there's Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, all these different things, right? You have gaming, you have music, memorabilia, like all these things that I think are very addressable on the platform. So I think sports cards is where we are today. And there's plenty to do in sports, but I think there is a way to get to a much larger audience. And certainly when we look at the globe, right, totally different dynamics. Not as many people care about American football, globally, right? Whereas soccer and basketball tend to be huge. Baseball even to some extent, right? I mean, huge in Japan, Korea, you have South American countries, Central American countries, but in any case, thinking about fandom expanding past, what we offer today, and then how do we get to, the next million customers?
Awesome. That's great. Kind of more of a personal question, but, what other CEOs do you look up to and why?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that I could, we'll call them Fortune 500 CEOs and things of that nature. But I mean, to make it more personally, I've been really lucky in the last year, last 2 years, really to be, to spend time with some really high quality people, some people who are running really interesting companies. I think, reasons that I've really grown to appreciate is not only like just how good they are at their job, I think it's their focus on like humans and just team building over everything. Like that is clearly what drives these things, right? If you have the best people around the table, you're gonna be okay. And so that tends to be their priority. I think the other thing is their willingness to like help other people. Like there's no reason for them to pick up the phone and like even answer my call realistically, right? I mean, they don't need to, and their willingness to introduce and to mentor and to provide advice, like you can just tell that it's cyclical, right? And it comes back around. So just being more open to that and focusing in a different level, like the prioritization of the human capital and the human resources of the company are just so dramatically more important than everything else. And I think that's something, I've learned from a few of these folks, and investors as well. A lot of them are ex-CEOs.
Awesome. That's so interesting. Well, I'm not a trader of cards, but just to learn a little bit more. So thank you so much for explaining Dibbs. It's an honor to be located right next to you.
Yeah,
and so we can come over and discuss NFTs and potential partnerships or whatnot. But thank you, Evan. And we look forward to seeing Dibbs grow in the next 6 months to a year and beyond. So
Appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.